Okay, so my name's Nick Bramley. I'm a co-host for the Yorkshire Sales Sprint, but I'm also a guy who works across the entire sales network with lots and lots of different clients. I'm going to talk to you today about successful sales in a COVID-19 world. And I apologise for using the word COVID-19 so early on a Monday. It seems to be the only show in town at the moment, but it is what it is, and we are where we are. And what I want to start off with is a bit of context, which is the world of sales was changing long before COVID, and all that COVID's done is accelerated that, and it means that it's put more pressure on people, but it's also created some fantastic, and I mean fantastic opportunities. And by that, I'm saying to you is, we can do things differently, we can do things better, but we've got to embrace them. So what I'm going to start with is look and say, successful selling in a COVID-19 world comes down to two skills or attributes. I'd like you to think what they may be. That actually might be counterintuitive. You don't get people who've got them both all the time, but you either need to have them individually. If you don't have them individually, you need to get a team that's got them in your team. If they're not in your team, you need to consider outsourcing to people who can bring one of these two attributes that you're missing into your business. The businesses that are successful at the moment recognize this, and I'm going to share with you what do we think the two skills or attributes are, okay? So quite simply, the two skills or attributes that might be counterintuitive, one is discipline and the other is creativity. And the reality is those two things are quite different ends of the scale. So we'll explain why you need them and what you do with them because you're going to be successful at selling in a COVID-19 environment. Okay, so let's look at why would you need discipline? Well, you've always needed discipline in sales. The people who are not disciplined in sales are the people who wing it. They get by. They will be up and down in terms of their target performance. They'll be up and down in terms of their revenue generation, and they'll just about get by on a month-by-month basis. Sales, like any other profession, needs a discipline. It needs a process. It needs to follow something that works, okay? So it comes down, first of all, to planning. It's then down to targeting. From that plan, who are your ideal clients? Marianne's mentioned it already. We want more of those. Who are your right clients, right customers, and right prospects? It's also down to a system or methodology. So how do you work? What do you do? What's the actual physical mechanism by which you run your sales function, from prospecting through to engagement, through to closing, through to account management? What system, process, methodology? Over the next few Yorkshire sales sprints, we're going to have guests talking about the impact of data. We're going to talk about things like getting yourself mindset ready and that kind of thing. But sales without a process, sales that's ad hoc, sales that is just random will get you random results. So we've got to look at timing, and it comes down to understanding. So you got to understand your prospective customers or your clients, and you got to understand your existing. So going on to what Marianne said, I didn't know you were going to use the phrase walking in their shoes, Marianne, but I'm going to reiterate that. It's really important that we understand their world. So you've got to think about, you start your process with the customer at the heart of the experience and think, how am I going to get at them? What's going to attract them? How am I going to sort of engage them, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where the discipline comes in. But a disciplined sales model looks like this. It's about targeted prospecting. So you're looking at prospecting for new people or targeting your existing clients on a regular basis. So whether that is through account reviews, review meetings, sharing content, referrals, etc. This is where we're trying to get to. And it's fairly simple in basic terms, okay? First of all, you're trying to become a person or business of authority, someone that people value, rate, and understand. I'll expand on that shortly. And you also do that by take away the mass marketing, take away the messages to thousands. People buy from individuals. They don't even buy from businesses, they buy from people. So think about making that message really resonate with the audience that you're trying to attract and target. So the end game is, if you think about building your authority and building your referenceability and building your capability, and you personally message the targets and prospects that you're aiming for with the right message at the right time defining that authority and that expertise, that will generate more leads, more clients, and more customers. And that, in simple terms, is what we're trying to achieve in a sales world, COVID or otherwise, to be fair. So let's talk about becoming a person or business of authority. The reality is you cannot be a business of authority or a person of authority on a global scale without some luck, timing, massive investment, but you can become the person or business of authority within your network or within your region, within your sector in the UK, for example. If you're very specific and niche, you could become global quite easily. But don't have ambitions to be the top sales guru in the world, because there are millions of people who claim to be the top sales guru in the world. Marianne, I believe, is probably the top customer experience professional. Let's go north of England, Marianne, okay? And I think that's probably fair. And I think, if she's got ambitions to be global, then, she's a long way off that, because there's 55, 60,000 other people probably who are claiming to be that. So be ambitious, but don't be, unrealistic about it. Being a person or business of authority within reason. So this is about, how do you do this, okay? It's about owning the digital space that you choose to operate in. I only use LinkedIn. I don't use any other platforms. I'm on Twitter for football news, but other than that, I'm not on there. I'm on LinkedIn. That's the digital space I want to take some ownership of. And I've got 6,500 connections and followers, and I'd like to be seen as a person or business of interest in that marketplace. So to do that, it's about the content you produce, but it's also about the content you align yourself with. So I don't always write the content that I post. I sometimes will see some content that I think that's really interesting. And Chris Wilson's on this call, and Chris is going to be a guest speaker next month. Chris will post something, and I like that or share it. I might post something and he'll do the same. We're not sort of copying, we're sharing something that's relevant, and we're aligning ourselves with somebody else's really valuable content, which is about sales. But what Marianne mentioned earlier is she doesn't devalue her positioning as a customer experience expert. So every time you see Marianne's comments on LinkedIn, there's always a customer experience angle, because what she wants to do is elevate her position as someone of relevance and interest, and a business of person of interest around the customer experience. So she's aligning herself, commenting with content that's relevant to that. But it's also about who you connect with and your connectivity sort of approach, really. Nigel's going to come on and do a LinkedIn session for us in April, and he'll tell you a little bit more about this. But the reality is, people that you want to connect with need to look like the people you want to engage with. So, think about the job titles, think about the sectors, think about the seniority, and think about what you're going to share with them in terms of your content. So I call it your footprint or your digital activity, being busy, being active, being visible. But it's also about demonstrating that experience and expertise to become a genuine product or service expert. One of my clients in Sweden, 5 years ago, well before this became a phenomenon, decided to push one of their engineers out into the world as the guy who knows the most about burst discs. They manufacture a medical appliance that if you've got a burst disc in your back, that it sort of helps to alleviate, or you have it replaced with this, for example. And 5 years ago, he was pushed out as the go-to guy about burst discs and things. 5 years later, he's an international authority on this. It hasn't taken 5 years, but he was probably ahead of the game, and the game wasn't ready for him. But he is the go-to guy in Europe for anything to do with this particular medical practice, because he wanted to position himself as a genuine person and genuine product expert. But you can't do that without being visible, and you can't do that without taking regular positive action. You could also call it your personal brand, if you like, really, and being a thought leader. The phrase thought leader just means someone, a person of interest or business of interest, but it's probably the one that you've probably come across a little bit more. It's quite a regular phrase. But what I get often with people is people say to me, yeah, well, it's all well and good that, Nick, but I'm not very good at social media. And LinkedIn just doesn't work for me. Those two phrases I hear a lot. Two things wrong with that. Get good at social media And if LinkedIn's not working for you, you're not doing it right, okay? Because if you're B2B and LinkedIn isn't working for you, you need to look at your strategy. If you're not very good on social media, go on a social media course, talk to Nigel Cliff, work out what other people are doing and copy it, because it's going to be the platforms that are going to work for you. So it starts, we talked about discipline earlier, with disciplined research. So do your research. So what are your existing clients and customers interested in? What are your prospects interested in? What are they talking about on the platforms that they operate? What platforms are they accessing anyway? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it whatever? But what are they interested in? What are they commenting in? What are they liking? What are they sharing? What are they getting involved with? Export your social media contacts. Have a look at who you're already connected to. I've got 6,500 connections. I couldn't tell you who they are, okay, until I export them. And what I do when I export them occasionally, probably a couple of times a year, I'll sort them by job title, because I want to talk to sales directors in a different way to talking to managing directors or heads of learning and development or operational managers. I've got different messages for different target groups. And this is where the discipline comes in. You can't have a one-size-fits-all approach to sales, and you can't do that anymore because people just see through that. So think about the sector, the role, the geography, or even your product or service. Which is the one that's going to interest or hook that person or that conversation? And this is one that really frightens some people, okay? I call it, the giveaway. Don't be afraid to give good content away. So I'll tell you a story about what I did last year, and it's relevant to what Marianne's doing right now, okay? This last year when the lockdown kicked in, I'll admit to anyone, I spent 3 days watching Netflix thinking the world is about to end, and I quite like the idea of driving a van for Tesco's, because that's what I had. My entire sort of diary just fell apart from training and consultancy and, speaking and all that kind of thing. But actually, I thought, I had a couple of really loyal clients who I really trust, and I really, really appreciate that they then supported the transition to webinars, and it was all okay. But I created a online sales academy, which was 10 modules around the sales cycle. Every aspect of the sales cycle you could think of, 1 hour, free of charge. Give that content away. That was my crown jewels. That's my intellectual property. That's my years of content that I've built up. Why would I give it away free? I got 750 bookings across the program. And since then, my inquiry levels have gone through the roof. The two are not disconnected. So giving good content away shows, first of all, that you understand the marketplace. No one was buying anything in May last year. Couldn't work out if they had enough money to pay the mortgage by the end of the week, or they're going to lay staff off, or what's this furlough scheme about? The uncertainty was, killing people. So why would I then say, hey, join my online sales academy? It's only £250. And by the way, if you sign up now to special offer, it's £99. Absolutely the wrong time, wrong approach. Giving good content away elevates you immediately in the eyes of the recipient as knowledgeable, relevant, interesting, educated, etc. And Marianne is doing something similar with these 3 webinars. Marianne could charge any of you the right amount for you to attend those workshops, and you will get great value. She's giving them away because she wants you to see that she is effectively the go-to lady in the north of England, we've already mentioned, for the customer experience. There's a lot of people saying, well, if I give it away, then, my competition will see it. So what? Let them see it. Let them see that you're better than them. Be brave and be confident in your positioning piece. So let's talk about the other part of the equation. We talk about building up this position of expertise. Let's talk about the final piece, which is personal messages, okay? Creating messages directly aimed at your clients, top tips, hints, cheat sheets, value-added wins. What can you share and what can you give away in terms of free transfer of knowledge? Put social media content into your personal feed, into your business feed, and into your groups. I do a podcast every Tuesday, comes out every Tuesday morning. It's a bit of a pain. On a Tuesday morning, I sit there and I post the content, but I post it in all my groups that are relevant as well. It takes 45 minutes, but I do it because it elevates that positioning piece. There's no substitute for doing the discipline and doing the hard work. You can do direct mail engagement. What about video engagement? Okay. I've seen lots and lots of people, and I've done it myself, where you record a 30-second piece of video and you send that as part of an email campaign. You can use Vidyard or Boom Boom. There's loads of them about. And what I'd say to you is, what would you say to your best customer? What would you say to somebody who you want to attract? Practice it, record it, use Zoom. Everyone can use Zoom. Why not? So I'm going to finish with some top tips that we haven't covered, but it's about making sure that you're maximizing the performance of your COVID world sales function. Okay. There's a lot to cover in sales, so I didn't want to cover everything, but we all now take for granted Zoom and Teams. Now, I don't know about you. I wish I'd had shares in Zoom in February last year, but nobody was Zooming until March. Now we're all Zooming, or we're all Teamsing. I can't remember the last time somebody said to me, shall we Skype? But we now take this technology for granted. So why don't we use it to our advantage? Why don't we use it to the advantage of our sales function? So what I want you to do is I'd want you to present your proposals to your customers and your clients, your prospects via Zoom or Teams. So instead of just sending them, you'll lose all control. Include some infographics, strong visuals, maybe an animation or video. There's so much more you can do now with presenting proposals. If you just send a proposal, I guarantee you send it as a nicely produced document in a PDF format, you send it as an attachment, they'll read it. They'll go straight to the price and they'll go, how much? And then what you're doing then is that's the only show in town. It's the only conversation in town. So if you present your proposals and you use the word investment, not price, and you use that when you're ready, you will convert more conversations. So I'll give you an example. Two things. One is one of my clients is based in South Wales. It's a long way, they think it's a long way from York, where I'm based. And they had a real issue about me being based there in Cardiff. They had it was a conversation that went, we'd like to work with you, but you're based in York. And oh, York's a long way. And I kept thinking that they had this issue about York. So I owned that as part of the presentation of the proposal, which was, so I understand that you're concerned about me being based in York. Here's why you shouldn't be. All before we got into the investment. And when I presented the investment, it was after I'd already got the sign off from the nods and the great, this is exactly what we're looking for. Then it becomes a conversation about that. So in terms of those kind of tips there, you don't want it to become the only discussion point. If all you talk about is price, you will lose. It's also not asking permission to send a proposal presentation by Zoom. It's actually saying it's how we do it. It's what we do. So I'll say to people, I'm going to set up a Zoom call to present your proposal. And they'll say to you, can you just send it? I'll say, no, why not? That's not how we work. We present our proposals for you. So we're here to answer your questions. A couple of other things. If you want to freshen up your data, get some news feeds, businessdesk.com, Umi Network, there's loads of them around. Who's doing what, who's merging, acquiring, growing, winning new contracts, etc. Follow your existing customers and target organizations on your social media channels, particularly LinkedIn. What are they doing? What are they saying? What are they working? You can comment and share and get some insights. And watch out for key contact engagement on your content. Who's liked or shared or commented? And do you want to get in touch with them? And why not? So remember a personal message that might work for them. Put a hyperlink in your LinkedIn connection request. So, hi, James. I would love to connect with you. You seem to have a common interest from that comment you made on my recent post. Here's a link to my website, but whichever part of the website I want to land them on, take them to the best version of you. Remember, you're trying to target properly to get more leads. You have to do it by becoming a business or person of authority, and you have to embrace personal messaging through discipline. And that's it. So let me stop the recording. So hopefully that's been useful, bit thought-provoking, bit quick, but fingers crossed it's given you some insights into some of the things that you could be doing, should be doing, and the technology you should be using.